on the edge of the mighty Mississippi.
I used to hate it when I was a kid.
Angler Mike Jacks knows the river well.
Kind of a river rat. I've lived in Nimber Grove pretty much my whole life.
But here, it's limited to a game of catch and release.
It's been a few years since I've ate any fish out of the river.
The reason comes down to a state-issued advisory, warning people to not eat the fish here due to harmful levels of contaminants, including forever chemicals, also known as PFAS. PFAS is a class of man-made chemicals that do not break down over time. For years, manufacturers used forever chemicals in household items like nonstick cookware and water-resistant clothing. They've also been tied to serious health issues, including cancer. The warnings about fish contaminations stretch from the Ford Dam in St. Paul all the way to the dam in Hastings, an area known as Pool 2. Nearby Lake Rebecca is also included in the warning. More on those contaminations in a minute. Across Minnesota, collecting fish for testing is a laborsome process. The state of Minnesota is now expanding its testing of fish for PFAS chemicals, and it's revealing more about the landscape of contaminations all across the state.
Those fish are really kind of the canary in the coal mine, so to speak.
We met Summer Streets up north in Duluth. She's a research scientist for Minnesota's Pollution Control Agency.
If we just sample water, a lot of times we will get non-detects, and so we may not know if there's an issue with PFAS in the fish, but because the fish accumulate PFAS to a great degree, we get a better idea of the actual condition of the water body, and then we can make decisions about potential human health impacts, or we can use the data to understand, is there a source here, and how can we then address that source?
In the land of 10,000 lakes, only a fraction of Minnesota's lakes and waterways have actually undergone fish testing for forever chemicals. But a Fox 9 investigator's analysis of years of testing data reveals at least 148 lakes, rivers, and streams had fish contaminated with at least some level of PFAS chemicals. When you see that number, should the public be concerned about that?
I think people should be aware of the issues, and they should make the best decision they can for themselves and their families on where they want to fish.
At the state health department, the agency has only issued a few dozen fish consumption advisories for specific lakes due to PFAS.
I don't think that is a cause for panic. I still think people should eat fish. They just need to go to our website and look at those safe eating guidelines to know which fish, how often, and whether they personally might be at a higher risk for it.
But the state's own public guidance on what fish is safe to eat and what's not has not been updated in 3 years.
It's been 3 years now because of the COVID emergency. Just like every other business, MDH has been trying to come back into operation after dealing with the pandemic, but we're working on that update now. We've been doing our best at the state to assess the situation and understand the impact that PFAS has had on our environment.
Can the state do better?
The state can always do better, right? I mean, we always want to protect people the best that we can. That's our aim.
Now, in some cases, the testing of fish can reveal a lot more than the testing of the surface water itself. In fact, here in Duluth, that testing led to the discovery of several previously unknown contaminations.
We discovered highly contaminated fish in Sargent Creek.
A state investigation found that contamination came from firefighting foam used at a nearby training site operated by Lake Superior College. A cleanup plan is now in the works. Back in the Twin Cities, an investigation is still underway to identify the source of the PFAS contamination in this stretch of the Mississippi River.
There's sort of 2 points of concern about what we're seeing in the fish there, and one is that the levels of some PFAS were quite high in fish, and then also there's a greater variety of different PFAS compounds than we typically see in other water bodies.
The discovery was made during a third-party study conducted for manufacturer 3M, which uses PFAS chemicals at its Cottage Grove facility, which sits along the east bank of the Mississippi. A 3M spokesperson told the Fox 9 investigators the company is on track to invest $250 million at its Cottage Grove facility to implement a treatment system for PFAS by the year 2025. They said in part, quote, "Our initial investments and process changes have already resulted in a significant reduction of PFAS discharges from the Cottage Grove site." But from the North Shore to the city lakes, more testing is on the horizon.
We want to ensure that not only are we protecting the resource for human use, but that we're protecting it for the sake of the fish and the animals that eat the fish and all of the other critters that are out there.
Giving guidance to folks like Mike on the Mississippi,
Well, it used to be like one meal a month or something they said out here.
relying on the science
Well, I think it's really important.
to make sure it's safe.